was reading this book, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. I was reading a passage of this book to my sister, and when I was doing so, she kind of dismissed what I was saying. She dismissed it, but it was something I thought was super profound and deep and insightful. I asked her, kind of concerned, hey, do you even care about this stuff? And when I said this stuff, I meant in a broad sense. I meant in a broad sense of, do you even care about these ideas in spirituality, in psychology, or in philosophy? Because she was kind of startled by the question and said, of course I do care. I ask you questions, don't I, when you bring these things up? And I said, yes, you ask questions, but are you reflecting and thinking about things that are being said to you, or are you simply just asking just to talk? Like, is it really penetrating something deeply within you? And she said, I feel that you go too deep sometimes. Don't you just enjoy the moment? And it was such a paradox, because here I am. One of the most important reasons why I'm inquiring or even interested in some of these things is to draw myself more into presence, to not be as pulled into illusions of the future or in the past. And yet, the deeper that you stumble in and the deeper that you go, oftentimes, the more of a rabbit hole you find yourself in, where you're like, how did I even end up here? It's true that you can maybe develop a bit of a complex when you go too deep into these ideas and miss the point and miss the mark in understanding that you aren't meant to stay there for too long. Otherwise, you might get a little neurotic, which I have definitely experienced the past year, especially when you're starting to dive more deeper into these ideas. Oh, it's so easy to just spiral and entertain the spiraling into something that could be a little torturous and self-inflicting. But yeah, that idea of being so good with life on earth and being so okay with the moment that there doesn't need to be a deeper explanation to some things. They just are. One of the core ideas that I'm drawing from this book, with every moment that passes of time, strive for radical acceptance of its unique expenditure. You can't do this instantaneously. Perhaps you can when you're more grounded in presence, but sometimes you are doing something and you're pulled out of presence. You are doing one thing but thinking of the next. It's always thinking that colludes everything, isn't it? But we shouldn't dread the poor use of our time and constantly berate ourselves for thinking, I should be doing this instead or that instead. Our human experience of time is finite and it is limited. We simply cannot do everything that it is we conjure up in our heads, and the idea and trying to entertain that we can is somewhat of a delusion. So being in radical acceptance of the use of our time in its unique expenditure in every waking moment is a practice that is difficult, and perhaps it's lifelong. I think for me it'll be lifelong, because that reminder is also a way to stay graceful with yourself. Be totally accepting of the choices that you make in the moment. It is the illusion of the quote-unquote right time that makes life feel slippery. It's not that there is a right time for anything, but we really convince ourselves that there will be, and that there is somehow a rhyme or a reason for the things that happen. But is there any purpose? And not in the, you could say that, not fall in the nihilistic sense. More so, is there a definite purpose of your life? Or is it all in the choices and in the choice to step into some kind of purpose? Anywho, that is my morning pages. very all over the place again. But yeah, these are the questions that I think about before work. Yeah.